Hey, it's me, Alice Music. Welcome to my religious life video blog for this second Sunday of the Epiphany, and it's gonna be huge. You know, because John chapter 1 verses 43 through 51 could be the off the wall things that have anyone's to be civilized, because Jesus calls Philip and Nathaniel. So it's gonna be outrageous. So you just about that. Anyways, John chapter 1 verses 43 verses 43 through 51 says, the next day Jesus decided to go to Galilee. He found Philippi, I should say Philip, and said to him, follow me. Now Philip was from Bethsaida, which means the city of Andrew and Peter. And Philip found Nathanael and said to him, we found him about whom Moses in the law and also the prophets wrote, Jesus, son of Joseph of Nazareth. Nathanael said to him, can anything good come out of Nazareth? Philippi said to him, come and see. When Jesus saw Nathanael come towards him and he said to him, here is truly an Israelite, in whom there is no deceit. Nathanael asked him, where did you come to me? Where did you come to know me? Jesus answered, I saw you under the fig tree before Philip called you. Nathanael replied, Rabbi, you are the Son of God. You are the King of Israel. Jesus answered, do you believe because I told you that I saw you under the fig tree? You will see greater things than these. And he said to him, truly, I tell you, you will see heaven opened and the angels of God ascending and descending upon the Son of Man. Wow, that's a interesting effect, don't we? Oh boy. I'm gonna skip down because this is too long. Now, I want to skip down to So here's my thing. Here's my theory. And it has to deal with gathering of the disciples in two important ways of learning. Because first, in Nathanael, we just have a major example of a model disciple. If we pay carefully attention to him, we will gain values insights into understanding the reactions to Jesus, both positive and negative. It has the story, just has to follow the whole story, can be civilized. But what's the second of the series that everybody knows that given to Jesus could be the opening chapter, accumulates the Son of God in Israel on John chapter 1 verse 49 says this one. It concludes with this, by pointing to the deeper significance of these titles in his promise, and give me one good reason why that they will see heaven open and the angels of God ascending and descending on the Son of Man. Now this gospel uses it makes sense use of these titles right from the outset is different than the synoptics. And where Peter doesn't confess that Jesus is the Messiah, and quote this from and yet to just remember that Matthew chapter 16 verse 16 has something to do with Mark on Mark chapter 8 verse 29, and so is Luke chapter 9 verse 20. And because you know why the halfway of the story is? Which one's gonna be? It could be. Well, who knows? Which is gonna be? And it is unlikely that the disciples would have taken long to begin wondering whether Jesus were the Messiah. But John, agreeing with the synoptics, allows that they had to grow in their understanding who Jesus really is. But you know the section is to begin with calling Philip. Here's the main point. Here's the main point, if you know what I'm saying. The main point is to precisely that now Jesus does call someone to follow him. And unlike the first disciples, is taking initiative of themselves. And you know why? Because Andrew finally found Simon. And give me one good reason, Simon. And now Jesus finds Philip. And that's why he goes to find another person to tell about Jesus. Now, which one is suggesting that is such a sharing thing of the characteristics of the disciples, and many sermons on this mission and this evangelism have rightly based on these passages to find and share the divine presence in Jesus is to take part in the Son's own mission. Yeah, you guessed it. To the world. If you don't believe it, well, guess what? If you don't believe this, if you don't believe the whole section is basically both sides of the story, well, guess what? You have to see this comment on John chapter 20, verse 21 to 23. Anything else you've civilized? So, here's your worst nightmare. Now, Philip tells Nathanael about Jesus, and Nathanael is a huge model disciple. And why? Because he stands in the middle of this striking contrast with the picture of the opponents that will emerge, and that's why he reacts to Jesus. And you know why? Because initially, in exactly the same whole way that they will later in the story. And as he says, Nazareth. Can anything good come from here? And that is for Nathanael, and that's why Jesus has raising the whole doubts about this one, because about he could be the one Moses who wrote the law. Just remember, Moses Moses that's why Moses has breaking the 10 Commandments and these little rules, breaking the 10 Commandments, and this is going to be about the law and the prophets, and it just has something to do with Jewish appointments. Now here's the reason why I have no objection whatsoever about it's so striking to me about both Jesus and both Nathaniel and Jesus taking the questions of Jesus' identity. You could see anything else to be civilized about this one. So about resurrection and about because Jesus is a teacher what comes from God, and I have no objection whatsoever. That's why he's the Son of God, a King of Israel. And because it's based on the law and the prophets that Moses does. Because here's Moses carrying these tablets, these two tablets, and breaks them down on the ground, and another one too. So what is at the end of this section of this one? Because Jesus has been, you guessed it, introduced as the one who comes on the scene, moving silently passed away. Because here's why. Because then it shows the extraordinary knowledge and authority and makes the amazing claim says, truly, I'll tell you the truth. You shall see heaven open wide and the angels of God ascending and descending on the Son of Man. That's why he speaks to Nathaniel. Because everybody knows, and you know the verbs that everybody knows about clearly Jacob's vision. Quote this from Genesis chapter 28, verse 12. And the picture could be of Jesus climbing Jacob's ladder. And that's why the angels are moving. But no ladder isn't mentioned at all. And that's why he is on earth with a new Jacob. And the King of Israel is acknowledging to be the true Israelites. So let this be a lesson to you on this second Sunday of the Epiphany. And the moral of my religious life video blog story is this. Heaven has been opened wide, but there is no need for us to ascend because the Son of Man comes down to us. And the one Isaiah saw has come into our midst. Jesus, not heaven, is the focal point of revelation. The desires of this mystic thing has been fulfilled. And therefore, from now on, it is those who do not see and yet believe who are blessed. For if we see God in their own midst, we must look back to Jesus and get the continuing guidance of the Spirit. And why? Because it is not, and it's not, that the heavenly visions are impossible. But that and intimacy with God is impossible and quite apart from such visions. For the second Sunday of the Epiphany. It is what it is. And that's my religious life video blog story. And I'm sticking to it.